So let's talk a little bit about Japan, because they had an election just the other day. It's in the news cycle now, and they've decided to turn right a little bit.
Well, it has to be a little bit in Japan because they are already naturally quite right. So.
Well,
It's true.
Well, their recent government for the last couple of years, since Abe was assassinated, has been really weak. It's been lefty and globalist.
Kind of globalist, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've seen videos of like Kurdish festivals.
Yeah, there.
In Japan, it's like, sorry, Japan, what are you doing? Like, have we not been a bad enough example to you?
There's only 3,000 Kurds in the country.
Right, and already they're doing Kurdish festivals. Like, no, you can't permit that.
Yeah. Okay, so the ruling party there, although it's coalition government, the LDP, literally Liberal Democrats, right? They've had basically a status quo in Japan, more or less, since the end of the war. Once the Americans won, they introduced a constitution, which they sort of printed onto Japan, and like the rest of us, they've stayed with the post-war consensus ever since, and in slightly different forms. It's been the same ever since. Now, Abe was, people said, he was quite nationalistic. He was LDP, he was Lib Dem, but he was actually quite a nationalistic version of it. And then after he went, they've had two prime ministers since then, and they've both been much more to left, like really pro LGBTQ, really pro bringing in loads of immigrants, hundreds of thousands of immigrants, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
The whole 9 yards.
Well, when I covered Japan last month, one of the things that the ambassador to Pakistan was doing was trying to create exchange worker programs for loads of Pakistanis to come over and work in Japan.
You know those videos you see of like the 3-year-old getting on the train and going 4-year-old getting on the train going to school, like that's over, right? If you allow this to happen, because like I remember when I was a kid, I remember being about 6 years old and walking to school on my own, like it was just normal, right? Because you have a high trust homogenous country, that's over, right? That's what immigration takes away, things you didn't even realize you had. Don't do this.
Yeah.
Just as a quick thing, I'm famously not a lover of Japan, but I am also a Japanese nationalist. Just don't let them. Don't let them. You are still in a good position that we're not in now. Don't allow it to happen. I don't have to like your culture for me to want you to continue to exist.
Yeah.
Like at all. I mean,
I'm for nationalists all around the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Have Indian nationalism in India. Fine, good.
Yeah. And stay there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Have Polish nationalism, whatever it is, in your own country. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we want for our country.
The thing is, I can see in Japan something that we used to have that they still have, right? And it's that kind of settledness of the ancient island nation, where it's like, no, we've been ourselves for a long time, and we've been happy to be ourselves for a long time, and we've had that ripped away from us. There's been a real loss of innocence in England of late. In fact, the previous segment is exactly what we're talking about there. And I don't want to see that happen to the Japanese. I really don't. You don't understand. It's not like being conquered in war. This is something completely different. And it's something that it's like a poison that's put into a cup. And suddenly everyone's drinking from it and wondering why they're getting sick. And it's just dire.
I mean, Japan, of all places, historically speaking, for...
It's the most exclusionary.
Right, yes.
All I want is an 18th or 19th century Japanese immigration policy.
Well, it's literally illegal for any foreign person to step foot on their island.
Yes.
So base.
And the Dutch got a little carve out for a tiny, tiny island or whatever off the coast, and that was too much.
With one bridge, one causeway, which is constantly guarded by samurai.
Yeah. That's all I want for my border force.
It's not too much to ask, is it?
Yeah.
Japan of all places, and although compared to a lot of places in Europe or the Anglosphere, whether it's America or Australia, they've got much less immigration, but nonetheless, it's spiked in the last few years. It's absolutely spiked in the last few years. The government there got the memo, got the globalist memo, and
When I was there last year, one thing I noticed around Osaka was the number of Indians working in the shops, just working in the local corner shops, and you're like, well, that's how it always starts.
Yeah.
Right, that's always the first symptom.
I just wonder if the British person, what are you doing here? Are you lost? Get out. Shouldn't you be in Birmingham?
Well, as you might imagine,
Got family in Leicester, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. What are you doing here? How dare you?
As you might imagine, their immigration issues are where the Americans suffer from sort of lots of Mexican immigration. We suffer from lots of subcontinent stuff or Albanians or whatever. Their problems are quite often, other than a very vocal Kurdish community, it's the Chinese, it's the Vietnamese, it's Koreans, and stuff like that. Now, where I was researching for this, watch a whole bunch of
Just
videos.
a quick thing though, probably not as bad as the immigration we get, right? It's like we got a bunch of Chinese of it. It's like, okay, yeah, they're not Japanese, but how dangerous are they? You know.
If I could swap all out, if I could swap out all our Pakistani and Bangladeshi or Albanian immigrants for Chinese ones, I would.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Would.
I'm worried about the CCP a lot more now, but like, yeah, I'm not worried about walking back from the pub or something, right?
Right. Yeah, right. But no, crime is an issue. It's absolutely an issue. Now, where I watched a bunch of obviously English language videos for this, a lot of them from where it's sort of the lefty perspective. It's remarkable, really is remarkable. I find it absolutely striking. The parallels, the exact same paradigm and dynamics that are going on with questions around immigration in Europe or in the West, in the Anglosphere, whatever you want to say. The exact same ones are playing out in Japan. Exactly the same. So they've got sort of this globalist lefty government which is betraying them in every way possible. From sort of the economic side with the they've got a cost of living crisis, they've got inflation going through the roof. Their president's Mr. Ishiba, and the people consider them to have betrayed the party, betrayed the base, betrayed the principles, that they're turning away from conservative ideals, that they're weak on China. The exact same things.
And they're not serving the Japanese people.
Right, right. Yeah. Completely that. So the government, the LDP, have had 3 losses recently. Back in October last year, there was elections for their lower house, which they lost control of, but it didn't collapse the government. They're just now ruling in as a minority government. And then just about a week or two ago, they had what was effectively local elections or municipal elections, which they also did terribly in. And now this recent one is for the upper house. They call the upper house, which they've now also lost. They're no longer the majority in that, even though loads of the seats were uncontested. Anyway.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Because the LDP in Japan have had such a lock for so long, and that the Japanese people are conservative with a small c to the extreme.
Yeah.
The better the devil you know sort of thing. But to a much higher degree than in the United States or Britain or France or whatever. Where I say sort of any party to the right of the LDP or to the right faction of the LDP, there's sort of, people said there's a vacuum there, just like there is in Britain or in America. There is no truly right-wing populist nativist option. Until recently, a couple of different parties have popped up. There's the Sansito party, which is meant to say the do-it-yourself translation.
I hear they're fringe and far right.
Oh, right.
I mean, just from the reporting.
So, again, the parallels are remarkable with someone...
Sorry, quick, it's the do-it-yourself party.
Yeah, that's what that
I quite like
translation.
Yeah, I quite like that.
And it's really new. Bit like reform, it only cropped up in 2020 as a response to COVID stuff.
Right.
And as you can see, the sort of legacy type mainstream media or the lefty leaning voices are trying to slur them with the exact same stuff, that they're just far right and that they're conspiracy theorists.
My kind of slurs.
Yeah, I love them. Love them already. Don't know anything about them.
And they're just xenophobes. They're just making up the fact that people are scared about immigration crime, and that the idea that you shouldn't be able to just sell Japanese property and land to foreign people and all that sort of thing.
To the Chinese government.
That all of that is mad and wrong-headed.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, at the ballot box, they did reasonably well, considering. They got, it's not entirely clear, different sources are saying different things, whether they got 14 seats or 20. But anyway, they're expected to maybe get 6, so they outperformed themselves.
Yeah.
They actually outperformed themselves, which is really good. And their leader Kamiya, he talks about Japan first. And
What a
people
sensible policy.
Right, there's nothing wrong with it. The nativist interest.
Can't believe this Japanese man is saying Japan first.
Outrageous, right?
Barking.
Outrageous. Xenophobe.
That thing we always believed. And had 300 years of isolation over and fought two Mongol invasions for.
Yeah.
That thing.
Yeah. The thing that everyone always believed until really recently.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now he's beyond the pale. Now he's the bad guy. But no, because so the Japanese electorate, at least in part, have spoken. So it looks like the Japanese government, as is, won't fall. They should just continue to rule as a minority government. I've heard it described as, a big blow to them, but not fatal. But yet, it says, doesn't it, that the winds have changed. Because a lot of commentators are also saying that they're not going anywhere. This doesn't seem to be a flash in the pan. So apparently in Japan, over the last few decades, there's been all sorts of little right-wing parties attempt to spring up, and they either get subsumed within the LDP or just fail. They're not popular enough for whatever reason, and they fail. Whereas these seem to have broken through. There's another party, actually, the Conservative Party. There's about 8 different parties in Japan. And there's another one that started quite recently in 2023 that haven't quite made the breakthrough that Sansito have, but still are sort of, they're quite based. They're saying really, really similar things. Like Japan first. Let's put our agriculture first. Things like that. Let's not just import endless numbers of foreign people who don't respect our culture.
Yeah, I would respect them entirely if they deported my friend from Japan. And to be honest, he'd understand too. He'd be like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, they need to do what they need to do.
Right,
to save
for
their
the
nation.
Japanese people.
Yeah, good on them.
This is what I say about the Spanish, when they were always like, oh, well, what about the British expats in Spain? It's like, I don't care. Send them back if you don't want them.
Yeah, send them back if anything.
Yeah, if you don't want their money,
We'll have a few more Brits back in Britain.
It's just, what did you think was that? I was going to move to Spain and I was going to set up a British pub and speak English all the time. And now the Spanish are angry. Yeah, no kidding. It's your fault, mate. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. No, if that's the way it's got to be, either our country is completely invaded or we accept back, like, the Spanish expats.
Yeah, they can see.
It's fine, yeah. Well, don't take
Bryson
them
Beach.
back. Yeah.
Or something,
Yeah.
We'll send them to Gibraltar.
Well, yeah, I mean, good luck affording that.
So, yeah, they're being slurred as far. But again, the parallels are interesting, that this guy and this new party do a lot of what they're doing sort of through YouTube and social media. They're just sort of ignoring the mainstream media of Japan. Again, a bit like the MAGA movement in various ways, or a bit like maybe what Rupert Lowe's trying to do or will try to do. And it's just interesting the way you sometimes think that Japan is so unbelievably alien and foreign that the dynamics of everything going on there domestically and in their politics will be drastically different to what's going on in England or America or Germany or France. No, it's exactly the same, broadly speaking.
You know why it's exactly the same, don't you? It's because it's liberalism.
Right,
trying to erode another nation. And it's got the same tools, the same rhetoric, the same goal, and the same enemy is always the actual national people of the country. Those people who feel that collectively they have a claim to the country. I was like, oh, well, you're xenophobic. And it's like, I mean, if I were Japanese, I'm like, yeah, I'm Japanese. Of course I'm xenophobic. What? Duh.
Yeah, I apologise for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I apologise for nothing. And Japan belongs to the Japanese people. Any further questions? It's pretty straightforward.
So the BBC wrote, these are Kamiya's words. Under globalism, multinational companies have changed Japan's policies for their own purposes. Familiar?
Absolutely true.
If we fail to resist this foreign pressure, Japan will become a colony.
Correct.
Right, yeah. Earlier this year, he faced backlash after calling gender equality policies a mistake, saying they would encourage women to work and prevent them from having more children. Yeah.
Objectively true.
Right.
And we can see that in Japan's birth rate.
Yeah. And again, the mainstream media, the English language ones anyway, the sort of Western or British commentary people, just try and smear them as they do with everything else. We were told that they pretend not to understand the issues with mass immigration. Yeah. They pretend that anyone that's got any issues with it are just simply Nazi or whatever. It's ridiculous. They wrote in the BBC, the number of foreign residents in Japan hit a record 3.8 million at the beginning of 2024. That figure marks an increase up by 10.5% from the previous year. So a massive spike, a Boris wave spike. So 3.8 million. God, we wish in Britain we only had 3.8 million foreign nationals, invaders in this country. So it's still lower than in a lot of other countries.
Japan
but as
has
a percentage,
higher population generally. It's like 126 million.
yeah, they've got way more people than we have.
It's quite a large population, but still, it's the drip, drip, drip wearing down the rock, isn't it?
Well, they've experienced a drip, 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 full-blown tap on, like a Boris wave type spike.
Yep.
And they noticed.
Good.
Lo and behold, the people noticed. But that still is it's only 3% of the country's population.
Yeah, but it was like that in the 90s here, right? Like in 1991, where it was like 5% or something, and it's like, well, you could walk around forever and never see a foreigner. And 30 years later, look where we are now.
Well, I say that I was being ironic, saying, "Oh, it's only 3%." Yeah, that's loads. That's still loads.
It's not that many, actually. I mean,
compared to what we're going through. But
no.
It actually is a lot.
Well, I don't know. Like again, you think back to the sort of like 1991 sort of thing, where it was like 95% native. It wasn't something that was a problem. And I'm not saying that we want loads or anything like that, but like that like it's good that the Japanese antibodies are reacting at 3%. Because for us, it was like, well, it's not really a problem. So I'm not really bothered about it, right? Because you wander around, you might have like, one Caribbean guy on your street or something, very, in rare instances, or there'd be an Indian or Pakistani family running a corner shop. But like there was, it wasn't a big deal and we didn't think about it, right? But then at 3% being like, yeah, no, we're not having this. Excellent.
Yeah. Well, it probably helps the Japanese as well that begrudgingly, that they have such a good example in Europe of what not to do. Yeah.
And we have to say it, don't we? That Japan have got their history with nationalism, very much like Germany, where it's used as a guilt trip. For the left or liberals will try and use it as a guilt trip forever. You were once extremely nationalistic, so you're not allowed a country anymore now in the 2020s.
So open borders forever.
Yeah. So infinite immigration into your country because you were once nationalist. So anyway, I thought perhaps we could listen to someone, so you don't have to take my word for all of this. If we could listen to, I think, maybe a couple of minutes of this guy sort of just lay out exactly what's happened.
All right. Well, can you walk us through what caused this shift among Japanese voters?
Well, the shift was, as your report said a little bit earlier, caused a lot by economic conditions in the country in the last year. A lot of prices have gone up. The price of rice has doubled. And there have been, over the past 10 years, a significant increase in immigrants. The LDP didn't really call it immigration, but there was 1 million new immigrants who came into the country, and the far right has used this.
So it flooded them. That's a flood.
Only 1 million in a year, mate.
And
we know that's an incredible number because that's literally the Boris wave.
And you must, by definition, be far right if you notice that there's any issues, if crime's going up or anything at all. If you notice any negativity, or just that it's happened even, you must be far right.
Let's assume there's no negativity. Still, why would I want that?
Yeah.
Why would I want this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Calling it a stealth immigration policy to attack the mainstream conservatives and hit them from the right on immigration. And they are making major gains now. And we're going to see a far right that has almost 20, maybe even more than 20 seats in the upper house. And they will be unrestrained in the kind of language that they could use, referring.
Oh no! They'll actually say things.
Good.
They'll actually express any sort of dissent.
Well, God willing, they'll use us as a bad example.
If you respond to the people's concerns, you make major gains. I'll have to remember that.
Yeah, right.
Nigel, pay attention, mate.
To immigrants before, the LDP was a big tent party, and it did have some far-right people, but they were moderated. But now these people are outside of the LDP, and they will be saying some rather extreme things, I think.
All right, and how has all this been, what's the reaction to this, we'll say, from within Japan?
I think the mainstream media is shocked because they spent the last 2 weeks trying to debunk a lot of the misinformation being spread by this.
It's misinformation. They're shocked by it. It's a classic thing. Like the Guardian will send reporters to like Bradford to try and find out what's happened, what's gone wrong, where has this come from, why is this happening?
Man, the best example was LBC's Tom Swarbrick during the Birmingham bin man strike.
Yep.
He goes there, he can't find an English person to talk to, and none of them will either speak English or just will even talk to him. And he's just like, so all the bins are right, and they just don't want to know. It's like, no interest in talking to you, mate. And he's just, you could see this is radicalizing him. It's just like, right, so there are a bunch of foreigners here, and they're piling up bins and rubbish outside, and they don't care, and no one is interested in even countenancing that this is an issue amongst social media. It's like, yeah, well, you know.
Again, how remarkable is it, the parallels where in Japan their media is obviously, and their lefty-leaning political class have done exactly the same thing. There's a pressure cooker, and they're just putting more and more weight on the lid of the pressure cooker so it doesn't blow off, and then ignoring anyone that's got anything to say about it. And then when eventually it does break through, or eventually there is some sort of crack in the pressure cooker and some steam's now coming out, they're shocked by it, or feigned shock, perhaps.
But they use the globalist language because they're taking the globalist money, right? The government, the NPR, the national broadcaster, they're just taking money from all of these international NGOs that have done to us what they're now doing to Japan.
I'm just glad for Japan that they're sort of nipping it in the bud to some extent.
Good for them.
I mean, a lot of damage is already done, but they're not letting it go as far as somewhere like Germany, France, Britain, or whatever. We'll just let this guy speak for a tiny bit more.
Far-right party, but it seems to have failed spectacularly. Maybe it even gave them more attention. But a lot of the people who support the far-right get their news on the internet, so they don't trust what newspapers and television say anyway. And so we're beginning to see right-wing populism in Japan, something that people said wasn't really happening in Japan, but has been happening in Europe and in North America. It is now here to stay in Japan. These people have been elected.
So again, isn't it interesting that it's the exact same thing as somewhere like America, like or it would say Germany, the AfD, just pretending it doesn't exist and there isn't a problem, and then in the end, the people and the politicians on the right just speak directly to the people and just cut out the mainstream media and stuff. 800,000 foreign workers. That like Maloney,
exactly the same,
like Maloney or like Boris or whatever. Just there is a problem. We see the people don't like it, so let's quickly dial it up as quickly as we can before we
get voted.
Government, crazy. There are a lot of links here that I had lined up just to show examples of actual examples of like issues in their society, but perhaps we won't
for time's sake.
Okay. So well, anyway, we'll leave it there.
Japanese liberals chant "Inshallah" while flying the Turkish flag and solidarity. Oh my god.
Yeah, like the Kurds.
I genuinely despise liberals everywhere, and they're all the same. They're all cut from the same bloody cloth.
Anyway. The takeaway, the headline is that liberals in Japan are doing exactly the same thing as liberals wherever they are.
They're subversive country destroyers. I could explain at length why that is, but I'm not going to now.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.